Welcome. Another episode, Dr. J. Beckett, Sports Card Insights. I'm here with Jacob Noble, as you can see from the podcast description and title, and we're going to have a nice conversation here over the phone. But before we get started, and I welcome Jacob, let's thank the sponsors. Appreciate the sponsors. It's Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, as well as COMC.com, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. Some of what Jacob and I will be talking about may have something to do with some of the sponsors. So, Jacob, welcome to the show. I understand you're an attorney. You wrote me a very nice email expressing your situation, and rather than reading it, why don't you put in your own words what your situation is and kind of your hobby journey and why you expressed yourself to me. When I received it, I thought, hey, this might be of interest to others.
Well, my autograph collecting journey started when I was a kid. I used to go to games. I was from D.C. We didn't have the Nationals, so we'd go see the Orioles, and I used to go up to Camden Yards, and originally it was Memorial Stadium.
Right.
I'd get autographs all the time, and then I left the hobby for a little bit in high school and college, but then I went to law school, and I always wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. I thought it was because, or I didn't think it was because it was, I thought Clarence Darrow was this great big figure, and I wanted to be just like him.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do criminal defense from the get-go. And I went to law school at Stetson. And in addition to Stetson being a great law school, geographically speaking, it was one of the greatest locations for
spring training. Yeah.
Yes. I had Clearwater, Tampa, Dunedin, Sarasota. I know I'm missing one.
Mm-hmm.
I even went to Lakeland, but I was able to go to so many Florida State beat games and amass thousands of autographs. And then I graduated. I became a public defender, and now I'm out on my own in private practice. I've been doing it for 14 years. I know you testified in trials before, and as someone who I've tried over 50 cases, and it just wears you down. Every attorney has work for it.
Were you, do you get exhilarated when are you, you're a defense attorney, right, on criminal defense?
Yes.
And so are you... how affected are you by wins and losses? And I guess there's plea deals and things like that. But how affected are you by the outcomes?
Physically, it takes a toll, because as I tell my clients, especially when there's an offer and they want to reject the offer and they want to go to trial, I say at the end of the day, I'm going home no matter what. It's funny that you asked me about how it affects me. Every time I hear a door knock, my heart races, because the door knock is the signal that the jurors give to the judge to let them know that a verdict, that they reached the verdict, or they have a question. And I can't tell you, I think my high blood pressure is due in part to over 50 knocks that I've heard in my career.
Yeah. Well, I think, like I said, I was on the civil side, and there were high stakes, but I was brought in as an expert, and I'm just there to do my best and tell the truth and to explain my analysis, but. I suppose if you're a defense attorney, you get pretty aligned with your client, and it just were these cases that were capital? Were they?
I haven't done any. I haven't done a capital murder per se. I have had murder trials. I've had some very serious, not fit for this type of broadcast cases. It makes the cases that I have. Some of them make you question humanity. I remember Justice Roberts said that. As a judge, he's like an umpire. He calls balls and strikes, and I actually respectfully disagree with that statement because I umpire as well.
I used to as well.
Being an umpire is more like being a public defender. No matter or criminal defense attorney, no matter what you do, nobody's going to like it, especially your clients, right? Because if your client's innocent, it's I told you I was innocent, and then when the jury comes back guilty, it's your fault because they should have been.
Right. Well, Jacob, let's get to some sports card insights here.
Sure.
So, if you have a highly stressful job, and my guess is almost anything with sports memorabilia would be less stress, but you probably have greater earning power as an attorney. But what are the similarities, or what would you be seeing in the world of sports cards and autographs and memorabilia that would be of interest to you if you were to make a career change or to have a side gig? Where would you see any of your skills being transferable, or areas that be very appealing to you? Because you could work for somebody, you could work for yourself. What kind of things were you thinking about?
I have a strong command of research and analytical skills. As an attorney, not just case law. You know this too, because you're the statistician.
Right.
But DNA, when you get the DNA results and the numbers and how those come out and the chances of it fitting in, but that relates to baseball in this sense. There's so many new statistics going on in baseball. That's number one. with this, the obsession over the OB, the on base versus the wins above replacement. I mean, and everything else. But the one card company that intrigues me the most is, and it was actually, you interviewed a gentleman from Leaf, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you interviewed him.
Well, I know him pretty well. I haven't really interviewed him for the show yet. You're talking about Brian, right? Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Brian, I've known Brian since he was maybe even a kid, but long time.
He is sitting in my gold mine, and I don't even think he knows it with his baseball card stuff. He's got the perfect game license. And so transitioning, how it relates is at least where my love of baseball comes from and my collecting. I generally collect minor leaguers. I don't, even during spring training, I'll go to the minor league camps in the backfield. Occasionally I'll get the major league because the Marlins are pretty easy to get and I live right across the street from them. But when I get the minors, I hear about the minors from reading and listening to podcasts. Of course, it used to be reading, Baseball America.
Right. I did that as well. Yeah.
But then you go even further and you start hearing about them. Their name first pops up in college. Mm-hmm. That's how it used to be when you had your magazine out. Today, you're hearing about these kids in high school. And this is where Perfect Game fits in. So just about every great player from America, and a couple, they sometimes have Dominicans who they bring into these baseball Perfect Game tournaments, but just about every first-round draft pick since 2009 has played in one or more Perfect Game tournaments.
Right. Okay, but Jacob, what are you making a suggestion for Leaf, or are you inserting yourself with your analytical skills into this because there's the kernel of a good idea in there, obviously, but there's a number of ways you could manifest that ability to analyze those situations and the familiarity that you already have. So what are you saying?
Okay, you're right. I didn't flush that out. I mentioned Leaf because they have the license to Perfect Game.
Yeah.
But take it to another level of the original rookie card. Everybody's on that chase. It goes back to myself as well. I like to collect the first cards that a player has.
Regardless of major league status.
Exactly. In fact, before major league status, specifically Bowman first.
Free rookie cards. Yeah.
Right. I don't count team sets in that. I mean, with all due respect to the teams, I know they have their little set, but to me, that's not what I consider a legitimate rookie card. I consider Topps, Leaf, Padini, any of those.
Okay.
But circling back to the Perfect Game is the ultimate rookie card would be to have that card of that kid when he was 15 or 16 years old. A company that would focus primarily on that. And the reason why I mentioned Leaf is because they have the license, but it could be anything.
Right. Okay.
Would they hear about?
Wouldn't that affect the kids' amateur status?
It's funny you say that. 3 years ago, I would have said yes. But as you know, the court just came out with that case about players being able to use their likeness for profit that the NCAA was violating.
Forced into, kind of.
Yes. Well, again, I don't know the extent of that. I have to research it, so I know I'm a lawyer, but I'm certainly not going to represent that a kid right now can go make money off his license. I don't know. But certainly the NCAA or Perfect Game, if they have those likenesses, if Perfect Game owned the likenesses to those individuals, that's certainly something they want to consider contracting out.
Well, if again, I'm wondering if the Leaf is considering even that. We're essentially out of time, Jacob. But again, just for benefit of other people as we have this discussion, do you feel like you're more entrepreneurial, or you're more where you would like to take this idea and run with it, or is it something where you would like to work within an existing company and do this? I mean, how much of a wildcatter are you? I mean,
very, very simple answer. Definitely, hands down, just free advice to the young people out there is the latter.
To be your own boss. Yeah.
Working for somebody else. As someone who owns my own business, I am not a big fan of it. I am a solo practitioner. Just the paperwork alone takes up maybe 40% of my practice. It's just the administrative side.
Well, okay, wait a minute. You're saying you just want to be a solo practitioner, so you don't want to have you're entrepreneurial, but you're not interested in building a company.
No.
You just want to do your own thing? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I would have no problem working with somebody else. I'd rather work with somebody else on that. I'm saying I have a solo practice right now, and I don't like it.
Okay, so if somebody's listening to this podcast and they think, hey, this Jacob guy sounds sharp, he's got a good idea, let's, how would they, well, I'll put in the show notes how they could, if you don't mind, I'll put in your, at least your email or something and your website. But okay, well, we're out of time, but thanks, Jacob, for sharing some of your experience. Again, I'm not going to, I just thought, if I'm going to interview somebody, it's going to be somebody that's in a very high stress job who has a passion for our industry, and let's see how that shakes out. So thanks for sharing your story. thanks, listeners. We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode. And Jacob, thanks for the good idea. I hope somebody hears it and perhaps follows up on it and get you out of your the door knocking, listening for the door be knocking. So again, thanks everybody. Be back again tomorrow.